So Magen James is here with us today. And I should tell you that she is our program director, Leslie's sister, which is how we found her. And Megan lives in Anchorage, but is from Fairbanks, so knows the area here. And Megan, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this? Because I know you got a full-time job with the food bank down there.
Yep. Yeah, so I really got interested in reselling primarily as a hobby because I knew that I was getting a lot of things that I maybe were like one or two uses, but still had a lot of life left in it, and how to pass that on and find a good home for things, which just generally led into that whole thought process of living tiny and how much stuff do we really need. And so in the last several years, I've really focused on just downsizing my own life. And then that turned into a hobby. So I started selling on Poshmark about 3 months ago. Before that, I was the operations director and human resources director for Alaska Premier Auctions and Appraisals for 6 months. And then I have sold on Facebook, Craigslist, Mercari, Poshmark, which we're going to talk about today. And then just a lot of yard sales and obviously the auction process. So now I get into flipping for a living since my house has been downsized. And so I'm always on the hunt for treasure. So here we are.
That's good. So, yeah, why don't you just get started with what you can help us with?
All right, so let me get my screen shared. Okay. And if I change screens, did you guys see the?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep, we can see it.
Awesome. Okay, so specifically, we're going to talk about downsizing clothing today and some tips and tricks for selling online. Just basically some things that I have found over the years of selling and passing on to you guys. I wanted to go ahead and get started. I've already introduced myself, so I'd like to kind of know a little bit about what each person on the call and some of the items that you're interested in selling. I think we heard from Randy. He's got some antique games and some other antiques that are not native to Alaska. Anything else that you're interested in selling?
China and silverware.
We got silverware. Randy, did you have anything else besides those antiques and whatnot?
No, I thought the question directed to me, but do you do this as a hobby business?
Yes.
So we can contact you afterwards?
Yes.
Perfect. I can hang up now.
Well, we've got a whole bunch of follow-up because I think you're going to find that we've got some really exciting ideas about how we can take this to the next level and really help the aging at home community downsize some of their stuff. I heard silverware. Is there any other items besides clothing and silverware and antiques that you guys are interested in downsizing?
Antique furniture.
Okay, great.
Dishes.
Okay, great.
More dishes.
And more.
Tools.
Yeah, I will right off the bat let folks know that full sets of dishes usually don't sell well. That was one of the things that was always disheartening at the auction house is you'd get these beautiful 85-piece sets of china and they would just go for almost nothing. So just be aware of that with your flatware, with your dishes. Some of that stuff does have resale value, but a lot of it does not, in the Alaskan market, I should say. I mean, I'm sure there's a community for it on eBay, but inside of our state, it doesn't go very well. Some of the things is deciding what to sell. We're also going to talk about general tips for selling online, go over basic platforms, and then go through Poshmark. And please feel free to interrupt if anybody has any questions, and I will try to be responsive to chat as well. Again, my name is Megan. I have a full-time job at the Food Bank of Alaska, and I sell on Poshmark as a side business. I currently sell clothes primarily, but I also have done a lot of book flipping and also just general household items as well as art. And then, yeah, I think we've talked about some of the things that we're already interested in downsizing today. When you're deciding what to sell, specifically for Poshmark, you want to consider your name brand items. You can sell pretty much anything you want online, but if there's a saturation point, then it's likely not going to sell for very much, or it's going to sell and it's going to be a couple of dollars and not worth your time. So when you're thinking about the clothes that you have in your closet, if it's a brand that you got at Old Navy or Fred Meyer or Walmart or something like that, you can sell it, but it's probably, you're better off just donating it at that point because of the quality, and there's just so much market saturation for those brands. If you have things like Lululemon or Pendleton, Patagonia, North Face, you know, those typical higher end winter clothing brands, those all sell very, very well. And I will say that my Lululemon and my North Face products usually only stay in my closet for about a week before they get sold. So consider your name brands and where you got it and how much you initially paid for it. Also consider the condition. Is it in brand new condition? Is it in like new condition? What do those terms mean to you? And what do those terms mean to a potential buyer? For my Poshmark, if I find a stain, a rip, a flaw, and it's an item that wouldn't necessarily be posted for over $20, I'm probably not gonna post that item at all. If it's a North Face jacket, for example, that might have like, I had a fire burn pit hole on my North Face jacket. It was one hole and I still sold the jacket for $35. So depending if it's a higher end brand, it can be in a little less great condition, but if it's a low end brand and in low end condition, you're better off just donating it. And then also when you're deciding what to sell, choosing your platform. Wanting to do your research first. So considering, is this platform easy for me to use? How do they handle shipping? Because different platforms handle shipping differently. And what are the fees for you? What are you going to be paying out of your net profits? One of my tips is if you're going to sell locally only, I completely recommend making cross listing on both Facebook and Craigslist. Do you find different types of clothes sell at different times of year? Great question. I will definitely answer that in just a moment. If you're going to be selling on Facebook Marketplace, you should definitely take the time to sell on the same item on Craigslist. It's called cross posting. And the reason why cross posting is so important is because it gets your item in front of more eyeballs, and more eyeballs means you're more likely to hit that potential buyer. And so if you're going to be local, Facebook and Craigslist is the way to go. If you're considering shipping and selling nationally or internationally, then you want to look at like maybe eBay and Mercari along with a Poshmark, or eBay and Mercari and no Poshmark, but just considering which platform works best for you. I've sold on all of these platforms. I will say I chose Poshmark for a reason. It's one of the easiest platforms for me to use. And I mean, who doesn't have a plethora of clothing laying around at any given time? Americans in general treat fashion as disposable. And so being able to locate free or low cost items to resell at profit online has been a great business plan for me. So considering ease of use for your platforms. As far as the different types of clothes selling at different times of year, you know, I have only been doing this for 3 months, so I don't really have any empirical evidence of this happening. But if it's any indication, I sold a Christmas sweater 2 days ago and it was February. So I don't think time of year necessarily plays into it. I'm sure that once I start getting some more statistics and some higher volume of sales, then we'll start seeing trends like that. Before I move on, does anybody else have any other questions?
How do you know ahead of time whether it's easy or not?
The way I did that, yeah, great question. The way I did that research is I basically went through and I downloaded each one of the apps and I created my profile. and I experimented with what it's like as a user to post something for sale. Was it easy for me to figure out? Was it easy for me to, is it click, click, click so I can go on to the next thing? Or is there a lot of, I'm going to have to type stuff in instead of choosing it off of category lists? And then shipping was also a big one. Mercari had a bunch of different options. You can choose to ship and pay for yourself, or you can have the app do it for you, or any combination of that. Facebook and Craigslist and eBay, all the shipping is on you no matter what. And with Mercari, it was $7.67 per transaction, flat rate shipping. And I'll get into some more nuances with the shipping later, but they send me a prepaid postage right to my email, and I can click it and I print it and then I'm done. I package everything up and I send it off. So shipping honestly was the biggest deciding factor for me, because I also knew that was going to be my heaviest lift, is getting stuff out of my house.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's important.
Yeah. Any other questions? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Go to the next. General tips for selling online. We talked about cross posting and selling on 2 different platforms. Setting your price is another really good thing that you're going to want to do some research on. When you've decided your app that you're going to use to sell, when you're setting the price, what you're going to want to do is go into that same app and search for products that look just like yours. Now, you're going to want to do it as a just general sales, see what people have things listed for, but then you're going to want to use the filter settings on that particular app, and they all have it where you can filter by sold items only. And that will show you the sold price. So then that way you can compare a list price versus a sold price. This is really important with like eBay. Everybody hears about that random Beanie Baby that sold for $6,500. And so then everybody wants to go on eBay and find that. Well, you can find the exact same Beanie Baby for 20 or 30 bucks from hundreds of different sellers. So when you hear about those stories, take them with a grain of salt, because list price versus sale price are 2 totally different things. And you're going to want to know what both of those are for your items, so that way you can price in between. Great photographs. Always make sure you have great lighting, great sets, not be in a very crowded area. I usually choose like a corner in one room and kind of stage it a little bit for my clothes. So that's always a good option. And then also to pair those with those great photographs is great descriptions. Honesty, again, is the best policy. If there's any damage, take very good up close pictures of the damage. Notate it in the description that they want to look at all of the photographs, because there is some wear on the item. And then shipping. Again, Poshmark is so easy with the shipping, and I am in a position where I have to go to work full time, and our mailman will take my packages with me. So you're also going to want to consider what's the lift for getting the items to the shipping station, whether it's the post office or FedEx or UPS. If you're homebound, there's also options for scheduling pickups with USPS. So another reason I liked Poshmark over the others is I could schedule a pickup if I needed to.
I have a question in regards to pricing, and any comments that you have about stating or best offer.
Yeah, great question. Or best offer is usually best in like a Craigslist or Facebook situation. It's a little more localized. The offers negotiation. And with Poshmark, the reason why you don't want to do an or best offer is because they have that process built into their platform already. The culture of Poshmark is making an offer to the seller or to the buyer and negotiating a price. So when you list your item in Poshmark and you're selling it in there, and you want, say, $10 for the item, you don't want to list it for $10 because people are going to come back and offer you $8 or $6. If your bottom dollar is, I want $10 for this item, you're going to maybe want to set it to $16 or $18. So then that way you've built in your negotiation. Does that answer your question?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. Any others before I move on? Great. So with Poshmark, the coolest thing about it is you can sell any brand, even homemade things. Oops, sorry, I apologize. Again, beware of market saturation for low-end brands. And again, if you want some help on discerning what brands sell well and which ones don't, I'm still learning too. There's literally thousands of clothing brands around the world. And so I don't claim to be an expert, but I can definitely help you assess which items will likely sell well on Poshmark. I even have a couple homemade things on Poshmark. I have a cameo and a shirt press. So I have a few little onesies and things that I made to sell. So if you've ever had a craft business before, this is also a good outlet for that. Some of the categories that you can see on Poshmark are men, women, kids, pets, home, electronics. Basically anything goes. I will say I had like a hula girl that was new in box for like your car, and they didn't have a category listing for that. So sometimes you'll have to choose other. And when you do that, you're going to want to make sure that you put a really good description with lots of good keywords so that the item will pop up in people's searches. And then again, when you're doing your research on how to set your prices, you're going to look for those similar items. What are they listed for? What do they sell for? And you can always do that through the filter setting in the app or on the internet browser. So since we're talking about clothing specifically today, what are some brands that folks have in their closets now? You can feel free to shout it out or put it in the chat. I'm just curious what you guys are thinking.
Well, I have a Geiger sweater that I paid probably $200 or $300 for. Would that kind of thing go?
Yep. That's exactly the kind of stuff you're going to look for. I'd have to do, Geiger is not a brand that I've sold recently, so I'd have to do some research to help list or to help you set a price for that type of item. But yes, any high-end brands, even if they're kind of obscure or haven't been heard of or not necessarily high distribution, those are the things that people are looking for.
Wanting to get a deal.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you know, again, like in my research, I've noticed that people, American Eagle, for example, you can get a pair of jeans for $39.99. Last time I went shopping for a new pair of jeans. I could be wrong now. And people will list it for that brand new sales price and like mark it up. But that's when things stay in their closet for longer. And so you always want to mark it underneath what your ticket price is, what you paid for it. Always make sure your sales price is slightly less than what you paid for it. Not the most expensive item in the list when you're doing your comparisons, but not the cheapest one either. So for example, if I have an item that I think I could probably sell for $20 and I do my research and I find that most everyone has it listed for there's a group of people having it listed for $18, and then there's a group of sellers that have it listed for $25. Then yeah, I'm going to list the item at $20. But if everybody's under $20, I'm going to have to adjust down. So I would maybe price it at between $16 and $18 instead. So it's a little bit of a sliding scale game, but once you get used to it, it's pretty easy to kind of figure out how you want to price your items.
I have a
Yeah,
question about shipping with the item and how that adds in. That does Poshmark figure out, okay, this is an item that's going to ship for this much, but if you know it, is heavy wool or something that's going to be heavier to ship, do you estimate what the shipping is?
Great question. Most items, almost all items, are going to fall within their flat rate shipping costs. Unless an item is more than 5 pounds, you can use their automatic shipping. It's $7.67 per transaction. However, as I mentioned before, when you're negotiating with your buyer and that counter offer, you can offer lower shipping rates. You can offer $5.95 shipping, $4.99 shipping, or free shipping. But if you offer discounted or free shipping, that comes out of your sales. So what I like to do is when someone likes one of my items and I'm going to make an offer to them, I will offer them a $3 to $5 discount depending on the price of the item, and then I start with $5.95 shipping. It's the cheapest discounted shipping that I can offer my buyers. And I mean, everybody likes a good shipping discount. So Poshmark figures all of that out for you, thankfully. Also key reason why I chose them.
Yeah, that makes it easier.
Great. Any other questions before we move on? So here are a couple screenshots. I primarily post from my phone. You can download the app on your phone. You can take all the photos through the phone. And this is kind of what the listing looks like without the photos, because I wanted you guys to get an idea of what that layout looks like. I don't know how well versed everyone is, but NWT means new with tags. NIB means new in box. And then I'll put them in new with tags, new in box, new without tags. You see excellent used condition. So when you guys are doing some of your research, so then that way you can compare your item of clothing's condition to others. Those are some of the things that people will use. So like for this one, it's a new with tag 9 West scarf. You're going to want to take good measurements of your items. If it's a t-shirt or like a pair of pants that has a size in it, I rarely will take a measurement because people know how brands fit them. But in this instance, it was a scarf. And so scarves come in all shapes and sizes. And so I wanted to be specific for my buyers. Oops, sorry, I've got a very sensitive computer. So you can also see the Posh Protect buyer protection. So that your buyers have an added layer of protection, as do you as the shipper. I've had to use this particular function once as a buyer because I was shipped something that was a knockoff brand and not the original brand. And it was a very easy process through chat, and they had my purchase refunded to me within 3 minutes. Some of the other things that you can see is the different categories that it's listed in. You can also see the style tags. Style tags are things that people would use to maybe they're Googling, they like clothes that are pastel, or they're looking for something in plaid, or they're looking for something for the office. That's why that 9 West scarf will pop up into their tags. Under the size, you see OS. OS simply means one size. And then you can also see that you see the original price of $38. That was the purchase price, and I have it listed for $14. Any questions about the description?
Do you think you would not get more than 14 for it? I mean, for something that costs $38?
Yeah, so a cool thing about actually I can show you. Let's see here. Hold on, I got too many little Zoom screens up here. The nice thing about here we go. So these are some items that I've got in my draft folder that I got to post. This is my, let me see how much it costs to figure out. So I just got a blank folder or blank picture in there. In order to get down here, you see the suggested price range. In order to get a suggested price range to pop up, you need to have a title. So we'll do 9 West scarf. It needs to be in a category. So this is women's and accessories and a scarf. And this is new with tags. Don't worry about add this item to your boutique. Personal sellers, we're not going to have anything in our boutiques. And then 9 West. And then you scroll down here and $38 was the purchase price. And it's telling me to list between $9 and $19. And because I have it listed, or because it's new with tags, I listed mine at $18. So that's honestly between my research on what people are selling versus what the item is sold for and this suggested price, that's how I set my pricing pretty much exclusively.
On their suggested range.
Yep.
Price
Yep.
range. Yeah, which makes sense.
So
Hello.
swap back over.
Pardon me?
And another thing, here's some
Oh.
photos that I chose. I'm sorry, is there a question? Okay. So you're gonna want to again choose a spot in your home that has really good lighting. I actually use my happy lamp for my seasonal affective disorder as my studio light, and it works pretty great. So making sure you have good lighting and then comparing what the item looks like on your phone versus the colors in real life. If it's significantly different, you're gonna want to try to change the lighting up to get as true colors as you can. And if you can't, that's okay. Make sure to list it in your description saying, you know, bad lighting, the coloring is more this shade versus this shade shown, because that will help the buyer make their decision. Also, when you're taking your photographs, if you have like particularly sunglasses or anything that has shiny plastic on it that will reflect, make sure you're checking those items in your photos for glares and make sure you can photograph around that or adjust items to reduce glare and reflection. For your cover photo, you're always going to want to get a picture of the entire item for the cover photo so that way a client, because like this photo on the bottom left, like, yeah, that's a good photo. It shows the coloration, but it doesn't show the entirety of the item. So it's always good to have a full coverage photo, and then all your other photos after show every single angle, show your measurements. If it's new with tag, you can see I have a picture with a barcode on there. I also showed the maker's mark and the tag for washing instructions. That's a big one. Make sure you always photograph all your maker's marks and your washing instructions if they're present. Any questions about photography? Okay, I would say with a shirt, you would want probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 images for a shirt or a pair of pants or something. When you're photographing pants, make sure that you're showing the cuffs of the pants or the sleeves, so then that way the client knows if there's any wear or tear. But basically the whole idea is to just be as honest as possible and use your photography to demonstrate, you know, the condition of your item. Okay. I'm not quite sure why it's not moving. Escape out of this. Can people hear me? I think oh, there it goes. Sorry guys, my computer and plus the snow makes for not great connection sometimes. Some of the other things that happen with Poshmark is bundles, offers, and direct sells. A bundle is when a shopper puts one or more item in their shopping cart. Offers, shoppers and sellers can make offers and either have the option to accept, counter the offer, or decline. And at first I was really, because like some people will lowball you. So you'll have a $20 item and they'll want to offer like $5, for example. I'm never going to do that. So I would just let those expire. But I learned that if you counter them, you may still sell the item for less than $20. But knowing that I have my offer price built into that price, I can now negotiate with the seller. And so I'll counter offer them all the time. And it almost always results in a sale. I say probably about 80% success rate. If you make a counter offer, usually the seller will either counter again and then buy, or we'll accept your price. So with the price, the bundles and stuff, I can show you some of that a little bit later, but I wanted to go ahead and get through the rest of the presentation, and then we can pull up Poshmark and do some cruising around. Some of the tools that you have, the picture with my profile in it is the snapshot from my closet. That's where I am so far. Well, a couple days ago, because I've already added, oh wow, I added about 900 likes within 3 days to my closet, so, or followers, so that's exciting. Followers and following, shares and listings. The listings, the total number of listings you've always had. Shares is part of their social platform. So every item that you see in Poshmark will have this ribbon right here that says like, comment, share. In Poshmark culture, people do not use the comment feature, and people will use the like feature to elicit an offer. So if a client likes something, I can then have the item set up as an automatic offer to send them a lower price than what it's currently listed for. So I only recommend liking items if you maybe are intent on purchasing. It's not like Facebook where it's like, oh, that's a pretty picture. If you want to do that, that's where you use the share feature. Sharing is a key component of Poshmark. You're going to want to continuously share other people's stuff, your stuff, in order to get more eyeballs on it and to get views. Depending on how often you want to sell, how often you want to hold these items in your possession, it's going to dictate how often you are on Poshmark doing your marketing piece of it, which is basically just the sharing. Share your items, share other people's items. My offers tab, or this picture right here on the right, the menu from our Poshmark tools. I don't do shows. Some people do online live selling. I don't do that. My purchases, if you do buy anything on Poshmark, will show up there. Same with payment methods. Those are your payment methods and your addresses for receiving items. The next batch is my sales, which will show you a list of all the items that you sold and what they've sold for. And then you can also get details about individual shipments, how much you made off of individual sales, etc. My balance means how much money you have left or sitting in Poshmark that you can deposit into your bank account. My Posh Stats tells you a snapshot about how your closet is doing compared to others. And then my seller tools and my shoppers, I don't use those features because I'm not that invested in selling as a full-time hobby. But if you were, my shoppers is something where you can probe previous shoppers that have purchased something. You can send them marketing messages through the app. Same with the seller's tools. Okay, you sold something. Shipping through Poshmark, as I mentioned, is incredibly easy. I'm gonna go ahead and run through this slide, and then we'll go through and I'll show you how you receive your shipping label from Poshmark. And then we'll go on to Poshmark itself. For your shipping supplies, you can always order free shipping supplies from USPS on their website, or you can go to the post office and get free flat rate boxes. I always have a nice big stack of flat rate boxes on hand. Ironically, I tend to go through bubble envelopes faster than I go through any of the small boxes. So if you're selling shirts and t-shirts and smaller items like that, you're going to want to make sure you have a variety of sizes. I also love recycling. It's like one of my favorite things. So I reuse my Amazon boxes, and I also have people at work that bring me Amazon boxes, the little plastic pillows, the crumple paper, and then I reuse all of that with my Poshmark so that I don't ever buy shipping materials. All of my shipping materials are recycled. And then other things to consider when you're selling is your packing materials. Again, like I said, an ability to deliver timely to a shipping station. Again, whether that's USPS, FedEx, UPS, or your work, in my case. If you are unable to ship items in a timely manner for Poshmark, that's 3 days. Your goal is going to want to be able to make sure you get your item to the post office within a 3-day time period. They will give the seller up to 7 days to deliver the item to the post office. But after 7 days, they will refund the buyer. And I don't know what happens to the seller, but I can't imagine it's great. So just be cognizant of shipping items timely. If you should decide to go on a vacation for whatever reason, you can shut your store down or place it on a vacation hold. And then when you come back, it will automatically start up again. And then what to do with all those items you don't want to sell. In talking with Marianne, something that was new for her and I figured might be new for the group is buy nothing groups. These are organized on Facebook and they're organized by neighborhoods. So a buy nothing group is where you can post gifts, make asks, and give gratitude to people. So any items that I get that maybe aren't up to snuff for my Poshmark store, I will post it in a buy nothing group, and then somebody comes to my house and picks it up. All I have to do is set the item outside my door. When I was helping, I helped several elderly couples downsize their home out of Lower Hillside, and they'd been in that home for 70 years. And we ended up doing a lot of buy nothing stuff for some of the stuff that wasn't going to be useful, like who's going to buy Tupperware. So that's the kind of stuff that we will post in the buy nothing group. Also just an effective way of getting rid of stuff. The idea is that no money is exchanged and all items stay local. So I just wanted to mention that, especially as, for a downsizing group, getting into a buy nothing group is a pretty good way to go.
I have a friend in Anchorage who is participating in this, and it's been wonderful. She's a young mom and she's got gobs of things going on in her life, and this gives her great joy. How does this buy nothing group get started?
What you'll first want to do is you're going to want to go on Facebook and search buy nothing groups. Likely there's already going to be one in your neighborhood or one nearby. For my buy nothing neighborhood group, it goes all the way into it doesn't make sense for me to explain it, but it goes all the way into Midtown. And so we have probably about a 10-mile radius that's for my neighborhood. So that's about what the radius is for each of the groups. And so like I live on a border, so sometimes I'm in one group versus another. You can switch groups, but you can only be in one group at a time. So my recommendation is to first search out what buy nothing groups already exist in the Fairbanks community and see if it just makes sense joining one that's close to you.
Thank you. The last time I checked, there was nothing, and there is now.
Oh, yay, good. Perfect. Buy Nothing does have an app. They shared it in our Buy Nothing group, but I also didn't see, like, people don't use it, so I don't recommend the app. If you notice the app, I recommend just joining the Facebook group.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Buy Nothing groups. It's like one of my favorite things in the whole world. I actually picked up a really cute pair of Tommy Hilfiger shoes to wear to work this morning, and I loved them. And I got them for nothing on my Buy Nothing group. So it was a nice little gift and a nice little way to treat myself in the morning. And then finally, just donating responsibly. If you tried selling an item or the item isn't fit for selling because of the condition, it's stain, etc., you might want to donate. Before you donate, you want to research the mission of the organization and make sure it aligns with your views. I always try to harp on this because a lot of people will just donate indiscriminately in any organization and then find out later that that organization maybe doesn't necessarily align with their viewpoint. So I always recommend researching the mission ahead so you're supporting agencies that you like. Read what items the organization accepts and doesn't accept and sort accordingly. Because the reason why I really encourage you as the donator to sort the items is that nonprofit is already working on a nonprofit budget. That person may or may not be a volunteer. And if they're not, that means the organization is paying someone to sort your stuff when they could have been spending more time getting your things ready for listing and so getting it on the floor for selling. So try to organize and sort your items accordingly. Just go ahead and throw away any broken or damaged items. One of the things I would maybe caveat with this is electronics. I would check with Green Star ahead of time, especially when you're looking at old cell phones, old computers, anything that stored data. That's why I like Green Stars, because they will erase the data. And then donating results, or like I said, donating results in extra hours for sorting. And then other places you might consider, Marianne brought up churches and church yard sales, which I hadn't even thought about. I know the Fairbanks Rescue Mission will take limited items. And we talked about some other agencies, but if there's any donating or spaces in Fairbanks that you donate to that you would like to share with the group, now would be a great time.
One of the groups that I heard about was that I think they're still doing it, but Lathrop and maybe other high schools as well have a closet for donating clothes that students might use for interviews, for jobs and things like that.
Yeah, we have Covenant House here that has a closet like that too. That's a great
Mhm.
idea. And then in the comments, the Humane Society takes used blankets and towels for all the dogs and kitties.
And someone else said that the hospital could use sweatsuits and things like that. So somebody
Oh.
comes in with an accident and they had to cut the clothes off to, get to wherever the problem was. And so that person needs clothes to go home in.
Interesting.
I have something that I heard about, but it's only seasonal, just something to keep in mind for gently used items. The Denali Center actually does this like pop-up thing based on donations for their
Leslie, you're
residents.
fading out again, unfortunately.
The Denali Center during the holidays does a pop-up market for their residents with gently used donated items. And the residents can then give a present to their loved ones.
Aww.
Hmm.
So there you go. Plenty of options. You'd be surprised at where you can donate items. So always, a quick Google search, can I donate this and where, will usually help you narrow it down to see if there's an agency that will take that item from you. And I think that's the end of that PowerPoint presentation. I know we're running like kind of low on time. Did anybody else have any other questions before I do some quick navigation? All right. So if you're accessing Poshmark from your website or from your computer, this is what it looks like. Very, very similar setup on the app. I actually did not log into Poshmark on the computer until Monday this week, and I was like pleasantly surprised at how easy it was because it followed along with my apps. My offers is one of the screens I was telling you about. So this Kate Spade bucket bag, she she liked it is what she did. And then I went in, I listed the item for 40. She liked it, so that was the heart icon. And then I offered her $34 in free shipping. Primarily any item over $25, I try to offer free shipping because it's no sweat off my back. And then a bundle looks like this. So this person has a bundle. And so then the bundle, when she added everything in there, was totaled at 56. So I went in there and offered her $46 and $4.99 shipping. It was $46. It's 3 items. I could have offered free shipping, but I also gave her a $10 discount. So hoping I can recoup some of that discount. So those are just some examples of how I would have bundles and things going on. And then for your email, the easiest one, they just send you a quick little email just like this. Congratulations, whatever it is, just sold. They'll tell you the date. This sold for $13. I made $10.05 even after shipping. And then Poshmark collected her $2.08 for taxes. And then down here is your prepaid mailing label that you just print off and affix to your package. So, I mean, I don't even have to open up the email. I can just open up the email screen and click through and hit a print and off I go. Yes, Leslie, those were your pants that are in that lady's bundle. Those were my sister's jeans. And then finally, I wanted to just kind of show this off, especially for eBay, the eBay users in the group. This is the auction house I used to work at for 6 months. The guy that runs it, Dan Newman, him and I've been friends for about 12 years at this point. It's the largest online auction house in Alaska. We have about 18 auctions a month now. And this is an excellent place for that antique furniture, those antiques that you might have that are not furniture. They cannot sell beer and wine personal collections, but they do have a liquor license to be able to host wine and spirits auctions. So they have monthly auctions. This one's just a discovery auction. So this is basically a general auction, multiple consigners in this group. And then just they always place the higher end things up at the front of an auction. So this is some things you're going to want to look at. Another good option for research, especially for those eBay users, or folks that maybe want to get away from eBay and use a local option, or just reduce some of the work. Because the problem with selling online in general is the photography behind it all is very time consuming. And then the research that goes in behind it. With Alaska Premier Auctions and Appraisals, they have a team of people that photograph everything. And then they have a team of editors, which are basically researchers that go through and research these items. If you do choose to list items with Alaska Premier Auctions and Appraisals, they do have their own intake process. I recommend visiting their website, alaskapremierauctions.com, and going through the intake process. Again, primarily based on really good photographs. So when you're going through that intake process, if you have photographs, I highly recommend affixing them to your intake application, for lack of a better term. This auction is primarily looks like art and collectibles, but you do see some household items. You do see some jewelry. An antique music box. That's fun. And furniture does go through the warehouse. So there's a cedar chest from the 1940s, 1950s. So that's always a good option as well.
How long do the online auctions last?
Dan has his auctions. They're usually a 7-day auction period. I've sold my own things in auctions. This is where I learned Poshmark was better for clothes, because I would have like a pair of Keen boots that are like brand new with tags, and they sold for $5 at auction. And I was just like, oh my God, there's better options out there. But with that being said, it's a 7-day auction period. Things usually, you'll get a couple opening bids the first day or two, and then the last hour of the auction is when you really start to see items popping off in there.
Right.
So, and you
So
can,
how do you get your items to Anchorage?
well, I think that Marianne and I were working on a solution for that. We were brainstorming some ideas on how to make that happen, because the auction house wants up here just as bad as y'all want to get your stuff out of your house. So what we were thinking about doing is doing like a 1 or 2 day pop-up up in Fairbanks, where participants would sign up and have a limited amount of items that they could bring on location, whatever you decide it is. And then we sort through it, and I can help you decide, do you want to donate this? Do you want to list this on Poshmark? Do you want to try to sell this at auction down in Anchorage? And then I would likely rent a box truck and drive up, fill it all up, bring it all back, have all the paperwork done up there with you guys, and then just bring everything back down here and have Dan get it listed. Very, very preliminary planning period. I'm actually meeting with a person from the auction house tomorrow night to kind of talk about how this would work and see if we can't get it figured out.
Okay,
That
thank
would
you.
be great. It's nice to have someone talking to us who's got connections here in Fairbanks, and will be coming back periodically anyway. So since you've got
Absolutely.
family here.
Yep, I gotta go see my sister sometime, I guess. Not on Zoom. But
Yeah,
That,
that
that
would,
would be a good place to list 6 antique chairs.
I think
Actually, yeah.
yes. Antique furniture goes really, really well. The problem with it is the getting it down here part. So
Right.
if you have enough for your own box truck full of furniture, if that's the kind of volume we're talking about, it
Mhm.
might be worth it looking into a drop shipper, you know, the shipping companies that the military uses to transfer their cars and whatnot, and just have it
Ah.
trucked down here. Because yeah, you might pay $500 or whatever for the truck to get down here, but you're going to make thousands off of that truck once everything gets sold.
Okay.
And just also too, another thing I thought about, typical commission prices are between 60-40 split. 60 for the seller, or excuse me, 60 for you as the client, 40 for me or the auction house. So those are, and that price range can change for the auction house specifically depending on the dollar value of the item. If it's a vehicle or a high value piece of jewelry or something like that, those commission rates can be adjusted and negotiated.
Okay.
And if anybody goes through the intake process on the auction house, make sure you put in the notes that Magen James referred you to him. So then that way he knows that it's one of my referrals, because I'll be talking to him about this group specifically in the coming weeks.
Good.
yeah, it'd be good. We'll stay in touch about that, because I think that would be a fun thing to do, to help folks here, and just give you an idea of the kinds of things that are up here, and we can get your opinion on what's worth trying to take to the auction house and what isn't, that sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Absolutely. And I've been working about, especially with the Poshmark. I mean, I think everybody saw that things are listed about average price on my closet right now. I'm only 3 months old. My average list price is about $30. So that doesn't equate to a lot for folks on your end. So we were thinking about doing maybe some bulk purchasing. So if you guys have items that you want to get rid of that are clothing, that we would fill like a bin. And then I would just give you a flat rate based on the bin and what we threw in there, and just kind of haggle a flat rate price. And then I would just resell it on my own. So lots of things to think about and kind of think through. I'm obviously open to suggestions and comments and feedback. I know we're running over at this point, but I wanted to make sure that I answer. Does anybody have any leftover questions or have any comments?
Yeah, this is Randy. Are you in Anchorage then?
Yes, I am.
Is there anybody in Fairbanks I could contact to do eBay?
You know, there used to be a company that did eBay direct sales. They had a spot over off of College Road.
I
By
used to be.
yeah, that's the last time I remember. But Randy, like I said, if it's smaller items, and that's something we could probably work something out where we just bring some of those things down here and just sell them out of the auction house, because then you don't have to store it. The auction house does. Any other questions?
Anybody else?